Yaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Stara His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ponderacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Stara Sata His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Girvardhan Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai New Dwarka Ki Jai Sri Sri Rukmini Dwarkadis Jai Sankirtan Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Book Distribution Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to Sisi Guru Guranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we continue reading the Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam given to us by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. We're going to start now the chapter 3 from the 9th canto, entitled The Marriage of Sukanya and Chavana Muni. So we're going to read this summary, and I'm going to keep going reading until text number 9, that's the one who has a purport. So please bear with me. So the resume is as follows. This chapter describes the dynasty of Sharyati, another son of Manu, and also tells about Sukanya and Revati. Devagya Sharyati gave instructions about what to do in the ritualistic ceremony observed on the second day of the Yagya of the Angirasas. One day, Sharyati along with his daughter, known as Sukanya, went to the ashram of Chavana Muni. There, Sukanya saw two glowing substances within a hole of earthworms, and by chance she pierced those two glowing substances. As soon as she did this, blood began to ooze from that hole. Consequently, King Saryati and his companions suffered from constipation and inability to pass urine. When the king asked why circumstances had suddenly changed, he found that Sukanya was the cause of this misfortune. Then they all offered prayers to Chavana Muni just to satisfy him according to his own desire. And Devagya Sharati offered his daughter to Chavana Muni, who was a very old man. When the heavenly physicians, the Ashwini Kumara brothers, once visited Chavana Muni, the Muni requested them to give him back his youth. These two physicians took Chavana Muni to a particular lake in which they bathed and regained his full youth. After this, Sukanya could not distinguish her husband. She then surrendered into the Ashwini Kumaras, who were very satisfied with her chastity and who therefore introduced her again to her husband. Chavana Muni then engaged King Saryati in performing the Soma Yagya and gave the Ashwini Kumaras the privilege to drink Soma Rasa. The king of heaven, Lord Indra, became very angry at this, but he could not do harm to Saryati. Henceforward, the Ashwini Kumaras, physicians, were able to share in the Soma Rasa. Saryati later had three sons, named Uttanavarhi, Anartha, and Burishena. Anartha had one son, whose name was Revata. Revata had 100 sons, and whom the eldest was Kakudmi. Kakudmi was advised to Lord Brahma to offer his beautiful daughter, Revati, to Baladev, who belonged to the Vishnu Tattva category. After doing this, Kakudmi retired from family life and entered the forest of Radha-krpa-kataksha to execute austerities and penances. Text number 1. I'm going to read just the English translations. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continue, O King Saryati, another son of Manu was the ruler completely aware of the Vedic knowledge. He gave instructions about the functions for the second day of the Yagya to be performed by the descendants of Angira. Text number 2. Saryati had a beautiful lotus-eyed daughter named Sukanya, with whom he went to the forest to see the ashram of Chavana Muni. Number 3. While that Sukanya, surrounded by her friends, was collecting various types of fruits from the trees in the forest, she saw within the hole of an earthworm two things glowing like luminaries. Number 4. As if induced by providence, the girl ignorantly pierced those two glowworms with a thorn, and then they were pierced. And when they were pierced, blood began to ooze out of them. Text number 5. Thereupon all the soldiers of Saryati were immediately obstructed from passing urine and stool. Upon perceiving this, Saryati spoke to his associate in surprise. Text number 6. How strange is that the one of us has attempted to do something wrong to Chavana Muni, the son of Bhrigu. it certainly appears that someone among us has polluted this ashram. Text number 7. Being very much afraid, the girl Sukanya said to her father, I have done something wrong, for I have ignorantly pierced these two luminous substances with a thorn. Text number 8. After hearing this statement by his daughter, King Sharyati was very much afraid. In various ways he tried to appease Chavana Muni, for it was who For it was he who sat within the hole of the earthworm. Text number 9. So we're going to read together this. Tadavi prayang agyaya prada duhitaram mune kricham muktastan amantriya param prayat samahitahan tadavi prayang agyaya pradarduhitaram mune kricham muktastam amantriya puram prayat samahitaha tadavya prayang agyaya pradaduhitaram mune kricham muktastam amantriya puram prayat samahitaha. So please chant. Tadavi pranamajaya kricham muktastam amantriya puram prayat samahitam tadavi prayanajaya pradaduhitaram mune kricham muktastam amantriya param prayat samahitaha tadavi prayang agyaya pradaduhitaram mune kricham muktastam amantriya puram prayat samahidam tadapri prayang agyaya pradarduhitaram mune kricham muktastam amantriya puram prayat samahita. Like this, please. Tadavi prayang agyaya pradaduhitaram mune chamutista amantriya puram prayat samahita. Tada viprayang agyaya pradaduhi taramune mantriya pamprayat samaida. Word for word. Tat Ochavana Muni Abhiprayan, the purpose. Agyaya, understanding. Pradat, delivered. Duhitaram, his daughter. Mune, unto Chavana Muni. Kritrat, with great difficulty. Mukta, released. Tam, the Muni. Amantriya, taking permission. Uram, to his own place. Prayat, went away. Samahitaha, being very contemplative. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. King Sharyati, being very contemplative and thus understanding Chavana Muni's purpose, gave his daughter in charity to the sage. Thus released from danger with great difficulty, he took permission from Chavana Muni and returning home. Purport. The king, after hearing this statement of his daughter, certainly told the great sage Chavana Muni everything about how his daughter had ignorantly committed such an offense. The Muni, however, inquired from the king whether the daughter was married. In this way, the king, understanding the purpose of the great sage Chavana Muni, Tad Abhiprayang Agyaya, immediately gave the Muni his daughter in charity and escaped the danger of being cursed. Thus, with the permission of the great sage, the king returning home. Om Gyana Timirandasya Vilangiran Shalaka Chaksurum Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shimate Viravahu Prabhuriti Namine Shri Shri Vrinnata Vira Padamankaya Daini Prabhapadamavadaya Namah Shri Viravahara. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauri Brani Prachini Nirvisesa Syunabhami Paschacharya Satavini Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuyo Vecha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Thank you everyone for being in Srimad Bhagavatam class. So when I was reading this story, the first things I thought was what all this story has to do with the spiritual life. You see, it looked like a more or less bedtime story for kids. You see, the story is from the king got to see this Muni and with his little daughter. Probably Sukanya was about, I don't know, more than 12 years old or something, because she was very innocent and picking flowers with her friends. And he said that Chavana Muni was meditating in earthworms. The Sanskrit word for this translation is Valmika, let me see, Valmika Randre. I don't remember the one. Valmika Randre is translated in the hole of the earthworm. So I was thinking, how is this it works? He was underground or something, and for somehow other is translated in the hole of the earthworms. But the word Valmika means anthill. As you are familiar with this Valmiki, the one who wrote the Ramayana, it's because he was meditating for many years and he was covered with the anthill. When he came up, he bear the name Valmiki. Because the anthill. So Randre means the hole. So it seems like he was in an anthill meditating, and the two blue substances is appeared that were his eyes. And Sunyaka, what is that? That's Sunyaka? Sukanya, I'm sorry. Sukanya was bewildered with these two things, and it just took a thorn and pierced them. But the acharyas, like a pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, they can see the spiritual essence in all these stories. Therefore, it's very important that we practice spiritual life from the guidance of the pure devotee of Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada, who explained all these stories. Because later on we find out how this example, this story particularly, present some system on the Vedic culture about the structure of the society and relationship with family affairs and the marriage situations. It's not like some societies called spiritual societies, and they are, for example, I heard they giving sannyas to the female members, but still they mix together with any restrictions, and they think this is spiritual. I remember when I was used to do service in the restaurant, I read one card once. He was a nice person, and he was sannyasi, supposed to be sannyasi. And I read in his card, he said, completely self-realized souls, completely surrendered to God and goddesses. And then one time, I think it was one of her disciples or something, his disciples, female disciples. And immediately when they saw each other, they say, how are you? And embracing and kissing. And they were thinking, this is not a spiritual life. Prabhupada and the Vedic and all the acharyas, they give us the siddhanta, the real things. So how there is varnashrama, the varnashrama. So here is presenting some of these features of the Vedic culture, the varnashrama. They will continue. Tomorrow, Radha-krpa-kataksha Prabhu will speak in the next verse. That I didn't want to speak about this. This is a very hot topic about the submission of the woman to the husband. So he will speak about this. He's more qualified for that. But still, this is presenting some hints of one of the systems of the Vedic culture is called Kanyadana. That is translated as arranged marriages. Sometimes Prabhupada say Kanyadhaya. That's this Daya means the obligation of the father to get his daughter married before she reached puberty. So therefore, this system of marry the girls at very early age, from 9 to 12, was very successful in the Vedic times. Prabhupada speaks about his own experience and his life. He said all his sisters were married from 9 to 12. And he said that one time, one of his sisters was already 12, and there was still no arranged marriage for her. And his mother came to his father, and she said to him, I will go to the river and I will commit suicide. He said, this girl is not married yet. And then his father said, what can I do? He said, I'm trying. So this was the system. Even Prabhupada himself, he said when he was married, his wife was 11 years old. So it used to work perfectly, but now the structure of the society have changed in India. And the mentality also has changed from the boys and girls. And therefore the system is not spiritual anymore, because it's based on the mundane varnashram, and the Vedic culture is lost. So Prabhupada said that India is like a dead elephant. he said an elephant either is alive or dead, his price is 1 lakh rupee. So in India, if the elephant was alive, it's 1 lakh rupee. When he's dead, he also 1 lakh rupee. Because he said even his tusk, his ivory, and his skin, his bone, his meat was very valuable. So therefore he compares India as a dead elephant, because when the Vedic culture was in his function in India, there was like a elephant who was alive. But now the Vedic culture is gone. Now it's like a dead elephant, because the potency is still there. It's still there. It's potential there in India, even though has become how do you say it, transversed. It has become. He said this Hinduism is not in these Vedic scriptures. Hinduism, his Prabhupada explained, is when the Vedic culture is not followed properly. So the word Hindu is not a Sanskrit word, it's not in the scriptures, it's just some words made about the Muslims or Persians. So therefore this Hindu Dharma, there is not just such a thing, a Hindu Dharma. So anyway, Prabhupada, he also was sorry to see how the Indian people come to the West after material progress. He used to criticize and said that the Indians who come to the United States, the immigrants, are like the new cross, and the Westerners are like the old cross. Said the crow is, this is a black bear who feeds from garbage. Because the Westerner, he said, they already taste this sense gratification, and therefore sometimes they are tired of it and become like a false renounce, like a hippies. But the Indians who come to the Western, he said, there's a new crop. They are very eager to take this, he said, this garbage of sense gratification, the material progress. So that's what his Prabhupada. But at the same time, Prabhupada, his criticism wasn't out of envies or fault finding. Prabhupada, practically his criticism, he used to criticize also the scientists and the Mayavadis. He called them rascals, fools, and all the things. But this Prabhupada's criticism was out of his mercy, out of his love. Because when he used to meet with the Indians who were living here, he was especially affectionate to them, very friendly to them. So this is the proof. Prabhupada wasn't in his criticism wasn't in the mood of hatred or enviousness. Even Prabhupada himself, he makes some. He was engaged in arranged marriages in the ISKCON society, because he saw what's the need of that, because he didn't like this, his disciple was living together as a boyfriend and girlfriends. He's properly married, and also he make difference. But he didn't force anybody. If somebody wasn't attracted to each other, Prabhupada didn't force them. They give a freedom to choose some partner. Even today in ISKCON society, there is some arrangement for marriages. And I read a couple of stories that were very successful, and one from the sides of the Mataji and the other from the sides of the Prabhu. There is one devotee, I think he was from Indian families. He belonged to ISKCON. He was initiated devotee. He was a young boy. His name was Nitai Goranga. And he was living in Tennessee, in the United States. And his parents arranged a marriage with some lady from West Bengal, from one village from West Bengal. She wasn't devotee. Her family was from Indian traditions, this Hinduism, some tradition. Her name was Meena. And the parents said, you have to marry with this girl. And the boy said, I will marry with the condition she become devotee of Krishna. But the girl she was interested to become Krishna consciousness. It's the only contact he had with Krishna was when Jaipataka Swami one time he went to the village when she was 12 years old. And Jaipataka Swami gave a lecture in Bengali. In Bengali. She was very impressed how Jaipataka Swami, being a Western body, a white body, he spoke so fluently Bengali. But he didn't trust the white devotees and the white bodies. But this boy sent some book from Srila Prabhupada's book to this girl, Meena, and she was very interested. So at the end, she ended to be initiated. Her name was Matsya Devidasi. And then the boy agreed to get married. And then she brought it from India to here. And now they are very happy with the family, 3 children and everything. So it seems like a worrisome times. And I read another one that the girls wanted to get married because she said her spiritual life by herself was very difficult. And she felt there was a need for a husband to continue her spiritual life. But then the prospect that was chosen by her, she didn't feel an attraction, and she refused to get married, said no. But after the time passed, it was more difficult for her to be alone. So after 5 years, she decides, okay, I will marry this person. And then, but ended as a good thing, because when she married, she found out that the nature was almost similar to her, and they were so happy. And then there it was. She was so happy. Then I read another one that was completely disaster. This arrangement. She suffered so much. Anyway, after reading those stories, I realized that it was not fit for me to read more stories of this. So I changed it to read the arranged marriage of Krishna and Rukmini. And that was very transcendental. By the way, Chavana means causing to fall in Sanskrit. What happened is the story is that Chavana is the son of Bhrigu Muni, who is also the father of Sukracharya. So Chavana and Sukracharya, they are brothers. And the mother, her name is Puluma. So Puluma was already pregnant from Chavana. And one time Bhrigu Muni left the ashram. And a Rakshasa came. And he became so attracted to Puluma, and he decided to kidnap her. So in the rush, when he was carrying her away, she delivered the baby, and the baby fell down to the ground. That is called Chavana. He was expelled or caused to fall. So he was afraid, and he left. He ran away. So after that, Puluma picked the child and went back to the ashram and tell the story to Bhrigu Muni when he came back. And they named it Chavana for that. Anyway, Bhrigu Muni cursed the Rakshasa to become insect. Excuse me. So this is the story of Chavana Muni. Chavana Muni was so powerful Muni. Therefore, the king, this particular story, it doesn't represent actually the Kanyadana, even though he said that he gave the daughter in charity to Chavana Muni, but it doesn't present the system of Danya Kanadhyana Dana, because some people think that these arranged marriages it means that the parents forced the 12-year girls to marry to a 50-year-old man, but it's not like that. It's appeared here. This is the example. Chavana Muni was very old, probably hundreds of years old, or maybe thousands, because his son is Bhrigu Muni. And Sukanya was just about 12 years old. But because the king, he said, was very afraid. Chavana Muni was so powerful. It is said, I hear some stories that when he used to go to meditate to the Ganges, when the Ganges was the current so strong and so turbulent water, the Ganges, out of respect, the Muni, she became so calm and very peaceful. So these sages could meditate very peaceful in there. So that's why this was a particular, a special situation about this marriage. Rukmini, coming back to the Rukmini, she actually arranged the marriage with Krishna. She sent a letter to Krishna to kidnap her. That is called Rakshasa. There are eight kinds of marriage systems of marriage in the Vedic system. They are described in the Manu Samhita. So one of them is the Rakshasa. So it is sanctioned by the scripture, because even Krishna himself arranged the marriage from Arjuna and Subhadra. So Rukmini sent the letter to Krishna, actually confessing that he was complete, he wanted to marry to him. And the Krishna confessed to the Brahmana that also he wanted to marry to Rukmini. He said that I even couldn't sleep thinking Rukmini. You see, for a conditioned soul, this statement, it seems that the person should be totally in Maya. Yeah? They couldn't sleep thinking in some girl. But in Krishna's pastimes, this is actually very glorious. It's very transcendental. Because Srila Prabhupada explained that Rukmini is Lakshmi of fortune, is the internal Chit Shakti, the internal energy of Krishna. So anyway, Krishna arranged Duraka, what's his name? The chariot driver? Daruka, to prepare his chariot and to join his 4 celestial horses. The name of the horses are, you know the names of horses? Anyone knows? Savya, Sugriva, Balahaka, and Megapushpaka. Megapushpa and Balahaka, the 4 celestial horses. So he took the Brahmana and also went to Vidarbha province, where Rukmini lived with his father Bhishmaka. And there the king received him very nicely, because everybody wants to marry actually Rukmini with Krishna. But his elder brother Rukmi didn't want to marry to Shishupala. Anyway, the story is that at the end, Krishna kidnapped Rukmini and he killed many of these enemies, princes who were against Krishna, envious to Krishna. And the story of Arjuna and Subhadra is also very nice. Krishna has a cousin called, his name was Gada, and this Gada used to be trained under the supervision of Dronacharya with Arjuna and all the Kauravas. And Gada used to speak about Subhadra to Arjuna, so Arjuna became very attracted and he decides to marry to Subhadra. So one time, when he was in pilgrimage, the reason he was in pilgrimage was because the Pandavas, they married to Draupadi, they were 5 husbands. So they were as agreement to turn times to be alone, each one of them, with Draupadi in privacy, so nobody can, anyone interrupt. But what happens the one time, Yudhishthira was with Draupadi, and there was a Brahmana who, some thieves stole his cow, and he went to complain to the palace in Indraprastha that where is the Kshatriya? He said, I've been stolen, my cow is being stolen by unscrupulous persons, and there was no Kshatriya who protect me. So he's criticizing Yudhishthira, saying, Arjuna said, don't worry, I will take care of it. I will punish these thieves and I return your cow. But in that moment he realized his bow and arrows were in the room where Yudhishthira was with Draupadi. So he was caught in one dilemma, what to do. But he has to perform his duty as a Kshatriya and protect the integrity of Yudhishthira at the same time. Because the deal was, if somebody interrupted, he was forced to go to exile for 1 year to the forest. So he decides to go in the room and knocked the doors and entered and say and explained to Yudhishthira what's happening, and took the arrow and bow and he went back. So he ended killing the thieves and took the cow and gave it to the Brahmana, and then he came back and paid obeisance to Yudhishthira, and he said, I'm ready to go to pilgrimage. And Yudhishthira, no, you don't have to go. This was an emergency. But anyway, he said, I should go, and everybody said, okay, you go. So when he was in pilgrimage, he went to Dwarka. Krishna came out to Dwarka to receive Arjuna. And then he said, you should marry to Subhadra, because Balaram was making an arrangement to marry Subhadra with Duryodhana. And Krishna wanted to Arjuna to get married to Subhadra. And then Krishna devised a plan. He said, you should dress as sannyasi, because Balaram was very fond and to invite sannyasis to his palace. And Subhadra was living with Balaram, and he engaged Subhadra to feed the sannyasis. So that was the plan. Arjuna made his hair, put some fake beard and mustache, and has a tridanda, and he went. And when Balaram found out there was a Vaishnava sannyasi in Dwarka, he invited him to the palace. So he went, he took some food, he sent Subhadra to feed him, but Subhadra saw some strange things in this sannyasi. She saw that his shoulder was broad, and when his voice was deep, and when the sannyasi took his plate of food from her, he saw that his arms were thick in muscles. He said, this sannyasi is very rare. And then he saw that behind his beard it was actually very handsome sannyasi, very beautiful. Prabhupada explained this, the Kshatriyas were very beautiful, especially the Pandavas. It's not like those some Hollywood movies when you see I saw some movie from Hiranyakashipu and Nrsimhadev. This wrestling match in the arena of Mathura with Balaram and Krishna fighting with Chamura and Mustika. In the movie these Kshatriyas were with a big belly and big mustache, like those Mexican rancheros. I'm sorry, Sachita, no offense. And actually, there's one devotee from Mexico, very nice devotee, and we were watching this Hiranyakashipu story, and Ravana. Hiranyakashipu was so big belly, huge, with a big mustache. And he said, hey, he looks like my father, he said. So it was not like that. The Kshatriya was so beautiful, Arjuna was so beautiful. Subhadra was so attracted to him. So then one time, because Balaram invited several times, so I'm going to hurry because it's getting late. So Krishna called Draupadi and said, how do you feel marrying to Duryodhana? And she just twisted her face in disgust and said, what about Arjuna? He said, Arjuna, yes. He said, oh yeah, I would like to marry to Arjuna. She said, you know he's here? And then she realized that the sannyasi was Arjuna. During the last visit the Arjuna made to the palace, Subhadra made it clear that he wanted to marry to her. So he was giving such glances, smiles, and moving his body very attractive. So Arjuna finds out, okay, that's it. So he makes plans anyway. He ended to make a plan with Krishna to kidnap her, and when there's one celebration before her marriage, they went to some temple, I think Lord Shiva or something, like the Rumini story. And then because the Yadavas, the Yadus didn't expect any turbulence, so they didn't carry any weapons at that time. So Arjuna put in his arm, he cut his hairs, he took out his beards, and he took a chariot. And then he kidnapped, in that time he kidnapped Subhadra. And all the Yadus were, especially Balaram, was so angry. He wanted to kill Arjuna. Anyway, at the end, Krishna pacified them, and it was happy ending. Balaram was happy, and they got married, and they brought it back to to Dwarka, and they got a proper marriage and everything. That was the end of the story. So all the stories, there's always happy ending. So Chavana Muni and Sukanya also was, you will see there was happy ending, like those soap operas in the TV shows. There's very happy endings. So thank you so much. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to all devotees of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.